Garneta Africa, essentially we're an architectural company that is set out to solve housing problems, utilizing traditional Nigerian architecture and sustainable architecture as like the bedrock or foundation of that.
So I actually started business in 2018, and in 2018, the first business that I launched was Garneta Industries. And that time, there was like a lot of things going on in the company. It was also a company that had sub-brands. So there was Garneta Graphics, which I rebranded to Serifix and kind of pulled out standalone. And then there was Asheria, the fashion brand. And there was Garneta Arts and Crafts, Garneta Photography, Garneta FX. There was like a lot of other stuff. Last year, I had this lead in that it's time for me to utilize my degree, my architecture degree. I actually studied architecture in Korean University. So I knew that I didn't want to just have an architecture company where I'll be rendering service. Like that would be a lot. So I wanted to do something different, something that was more passive. That was kind of what started giving the idea of, okay, what problems are actually existing in the industry that I could actually solve? And that was what brought the whole idea of actually solving housing problems. But then there was also something I didn't want to lose sight of, which was the Nigerian traditional architecture. So that was actually my final year project, and I actually did study on what architecture was like in those days. Obviously, the Nigerian traditional architecture also has, and then African architecture in general also has a little bit of sprinkle of sustainability in it. So it kind of all just tied together, where the brand actually prioritizes social impacts, but we're doing that through architecture. So our major focus is really to solve problems around housing in Africa. So when I decided to actually launch Garneta Africa, and this was, I think, January 2025, was when I realized that in as much as, yes, I'm also a strategist and I'm also a creative, I shouldn't do the work by myself because of how broad the vision is. I really wanted to see what other people were thinking about the brand as well, so that the brand could be expressed in a way that I'm not limiting the possibilities. So that was my goal with going through this entire branding process. But the challenge that we had, which is something I've mentioned earlier, was that confusion. Because again, I don't know what's with me and sub-brands, but anytime there's like sub-brands, there's always like confusion. So we really just needed to make sure that people understood what we are doing as a brand. And that's why I keep prioritizing that we're a social impact focused brand, not just an architecture company. So we really needed to be able to define that, which we've been able to do by going through the entire strategy process. The thing that actually kind of solidified the decision to build a stronger brand was the fact that to do something like we're doing in the industry in today, it takes a lot. Like, people actually have to respect you. They can't, like, it can't just be a random architecture company and then they're like, okay, who are you exactly? So we needed to kind of position ourselves in a space where NGOs, investors, real estate companies, they would actually like see that, yes, we are serious about what we're doing, respect us on the level that we would not get if we just, put ourselves out there as an architecture company. So Garneta is a social focused brand, and we're bent on putting that out there a lot more.
From the clarity call, we could see that the brand itself had a lot of sub-brands. So we had I think about 4 sub-brands to work with. Garneta Africa as a master brand, Garneta Architect, Garneta Residence, Garneta MOV, Garneta Production House. And we know we had to create a system that worked across board. Having such a brand architecture, we call it a branded house. It was necessary for us to define how all these sub-brands work together alongside the master brand. So when you're doing operations or marketing, things are not so complicated because you've already defined the structure of how all these sub-brands work alongside with the master brand, which is Garneta Africa.
For the marketing strategy for Garneta Africa, it was challenging because first I was not, an architect. I have a friend that is an architect, and I had to ask him for advice concerning a lot of campaign ideas that, I wrote down. I think one thing I'm very excited to actually see when it gets implemented is the builder's table, because I really want to see how well it will be implemented. So I just had a mental picture of how it will look like on that particular day. So I can't wait to actually see how it will play out, and I can't wait to see everything, just the strategy being, implemented like that.
For the visual identity, when we're coming up with it, like I mentioned earlier, we had to consider the fact that it had to be a system that could be replicated across all the sub-brands. So the logo system we came up with had to be something that was modular, that could change easily without kind of disrupting how everything looks. So there's a uniformity in the changes across the sub-brand. And for the color palette, we created a master color palette for Garneta Africa. And from there, we kind of broke down that master color palette into the other sub-brands. So there's a kind of a continuity across all the sub-brands. So there's a relationship, the same brand, but different parts that do different things. For typography, we wanted something structured, but not too structured. And we wanted something that had character because, again, Garneta Africa was serving the African continent. And one thing about Africans, I don't want to generalize, but it's something I've noticed is that we're proud of our culture, no matter the country. And so we wanted something that had character, but still had this structured features, because it's also a brand that works in a sector where precision is necessary as well as creativity. So trying to merge those things together. The patterns were inspired by African art. I saw some images on Pinterest and just kind of sparked the idea that, oh, we can use this for Garneta Africa. We had like a very intricate kind of rendering of a door, and I thought, okay, this is a doorway, kind of an opportunity into like going into what the brand is about. I kind of like symbolism behind that, signifying openness, a welcoming feel basically, because that's basically, as a social brand, you want something that is welcoming to the general public, something that is inviting, and something that can resonate with general public, as well as bearing to the culture of being African. Basically, that's everything that kind of drove how we created the visual identity, how we came up with everything, down to the stationery for the brand, letterhead and stuff like that, presentation templates, everything we had to create, because it's a corporate brand as well. So everything we had to create to ensure that the brand has everything it needs to work with. When we're coming up with strategy, I thought it would be a great idea for Garneta to have a signature, so you can know that this structure was designed by Garneta Africa, kind of an artistic mark, a producer's tag, as you call it. And the founder, actually, because she's also a creative, she kind of saw the patterns in a way that I wasn't thinking about it, as something that they can use in a 3D space, bring it to life, and it becomes their signature, their artistic mark on all their buildings, their estate, anything they're doing. And so I think that's how the strategy, the visuals, and even the physical rendering of their work will come together, ties together to create something very spectacular, something special that's not been seen basically, or not really popular in the architecture space. Okay, so the key goal for the website was a couple of goals, I would say. One of them is to ensure that potential investors, can easily navigate the website and be convinced or see the benefit of what Garneta Africa is doing and invest in their projects. Another thing was to gain leads. Basically, every website should be able to convert leads of some sort. And another thing was to showcase what Garneta Africa is all about. So what the brand is, sub-brands, what they're about, and what kind of change they want to make in the architecture, real estate industry. During the clarity call, one thing that the founder of the brand kept mentioning was that it's a social brand. And I took that to mean that they're concerned about their social impact, not just their profit or their baseline. So this was what informed how we created the site map for the website.
I love Wix Studio because of the functionality that comes with it, like what we have access to in terms of functionality. We can actually operate the entire brand online on our website, so the website actually becomes like a hub for everything. So architectural services can actually be booked directly on the website. Our estate listings can also be on the website, and then we can also get bookings for architectural documentary on the website. We can also get bookings for using the workspace as well on the website. But the one that really stands out to me is the one for Garneta residences, and that's because unlike a traditional real estate website, you pretty much have like a long listing like this, which they usually tap from global markets available listings across like different parts of the world, even though it's streamlined to a specific location. But this is pretty much all you get. Like you just get like a bunch of listings, right? Whatever the location is, it's always going to be in the same particular place, and you can see that they're listed by different people, not even the company themselves. But what we want is that we wanted to be able to list our own properties, because we are actually building our own estates. So if you look at what we have on the website, you can see how like there are different estates, the one in different parts of Africa. We want people to be able to come to this particular estate in this particular location and then just see only houses for that location and then pick, and then they're not buildings or properties that exist out there. They are actually properties that we actually list by ourselves on our own website. So like it's exclusive to only us, and our agents even also use our website as well to sell the houses as well. So like that is the entire experience that we wanted, and that's pretty much what Serifix has been able to give us. So this is a sample of what it's going to look like on the live site, and you can see like different listings for a particular estate. This is for estate 1, and it's so easy to manage on the dashboard, and pretty much you end up with something like this on the website, and you just have everything here. Our agents can also come in here as well, so we can add users as well. So we can add our agents here, and then they also have access to, you know, sell and also engage with customers as well. So like everything is just seamless on our own platform, and we've been able to get that using the Wix Studio Builder. So this is like my highlights for the entire website amongst all the other functionalities that exist. I'm really excited about when we get to update our impact projects and like update them on the website so people could see what we've done, the social impacts that we've made and all of those things. I'm excited about that. Then also the website will also help to make things structured in terms of when we get clients. For Garneta Architects, that's one of the arms of Garneta Africa. When we launched the first estate, you could actually see the details about the estate, projected returns, like all those little functionalities. They are things that I'm really excited about.
The name is Yemi. I'm co-founder and chief of sales for Garneta Africa. We brought on board the project to our partner firm, Serifix, and it was more of them basically helping us brand, create a strategy, and then mapping out ways for us to basically structure Garneta Africa in itself. From design the entire holistic process to what our clients and customers are going to probably envisage and feel about us upon first glance. So every aspect of it, basically the nitty-gritties, if you know what I mean. So when I say the nitty-gritties, the color schemes, the logos, what the website is going to look like, how we're going to even market to them. It was a whole lot. The project's goal in itself was basically to convey the vision of Garneta Africa to our target audience, our clients, our partners, and our investors, and basically everybody that relates with in the ecosystem when it comes to the construction space, the entire ecosystem, because Garneta Africa itself has a lot of arms, things that we plan on doing and branching out into over time. And yeah, Serifix basically helped to bring that to life. The experience was nice, it was interesting. A lot of back and forths, arguments, voting, polls. They were always against me. I'm not going to lie, my fellow co-founders. But it was insightful in the sense that we learned, we gave advice, we added bits and bits here and there. I basically even took up some new things that I didn't know before, especially in the sales strategy that it mapped out. It was crazy. Little things that I didn't know that branding could actually influence and have a very, very holistic input to how your customer feels, like the customer experience. Yeah, they basically explained and expatiated on that to the point where I felt more comfortable. Yeah. that it's a firm that basically understands our brand and what our brand needs. So yeah, I loved the experience. It was really, really hands-on. It was really, really hands-on. Like they held our hands through the entire process. It was fun. It was fun. I recommend you should check in back with Serifix when it comes to anything branding, and basically communicating what your firm wants, needs to your target audience. They're your go-to consultancy agents.
Hi, my name is Bamdele Emmanuel, co-founder at Garneta Africa. I realized that we needed some sort of branding. That's the entire team. We needed some sort of branding because branding is what most startups struggle with, and branding helps startup brands position appropriately for the digital world, right? So we got to know Serifix, through my colleague Shiba, and we reached out to them, and they set us up on having meetings. I never even knew that branding was this stage, having series of calls, series of presentations, submissions, inputs here and there, from logo, brand awareness, campaigns, like everything you can think of under branding. Serifix just took it off, and I'm glad that we finally launched, and going with what Serifix has done for us, it's been a smooth ride so far.
When we had the final presentation for the visual identity system, now that I think this was before we went into the brand applications where the team designed the letterheads, presentation slides, merch, and all those things. I actually put together the visual system in like a Canva view only link, and I shared it to people just to get their first reaction. And one reaction actually really stuck to me. Someone actually said that we look like an international brand that came to Africa to like do something, and that kind of just made sense, because again, if we're trying to put ourselves as a social impact brand as opposed to just an architecture company, then that means that we've actually done justice. That means we've hit the nail on the head. That means we've actually done something great. So I'm excited about like the team at Serifix, like putting this together, and I think that's just like my takeaway. Yeah.